Hello, welcome to another episode of The Critics. My name is Tony Gonzalez. Before I start off today, I just want to quickly give a shout out to my wonderful wife. She actually bought me most of this stuff and wanted me to hang it up as a backdrop for my videos. She said it was boring behind me. So, it's here and it looks all presentable and nice. So, yay! As a continuation on from our last episode, we're going to be talking about Captain America, and we're going to be discussing all three movies. This is part of my Marvel movie reviews where I'm going to go through multiple movies at a time and discuss them and give my grades for each individual movie. So, let's get started. To start off, we're going to talk about Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, this movie initially wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but since then has grown on me. Now, when I went back and watched this movie, there were some really good parts about it for me. I remember when I first went and saw it, it seemed a little boring, it seemed a little slow paced. Scenes that I thought were supposed to jump out at me didn't, because there were a lot of montage scenes, there was a lot of dialogue, and it was hard because I didn't know how I felt about it initially. Now, going back and watching it, I adore how they did this movie. First and foremost, I have to give so much credit to Chris Evans as Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. In this movie, more than any others, you gotta give him a lot of credit because the first 20 to 25 minutes of this movie are purely on acting skills. There's no action, there's no big muscles, it's purely acting, and he really conveys the acting so well. The CGI making him look like a scrawny little guy and super short, it's really good. Watching it again, it really holds up. You think that it's him, you get caught up in that, and that's what his mentality and his acting really comes across. It's so good. The rest of the casting in this movie, also very good. I very much enjoyed Tommy Lee Jones. I very much enjoyed Hugo Weaving as a Red Skull. Very underrated as a villain because he's a very good Red Skull. But again, the scenes with him, more montage scenes than actual seeing him, probably is what sets him behind on a lot of people's spectrum. But he's still a really, really good part of this movie. Sebastian Stan as Bucky, Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, Stanley Tucci as the Doctor, you have Neil McDonough, Daryl Luke. There's a lot of people in this movie, and they all play their roles quite well for what their roles are. I think the acting in this movie was superb. I think certain parts with the action scenes could have been a lot better, but at the same time, it was just a good movie, still very good. One of the best scenes in this movie actually comes before Chris Evans becomes Captain America, and that is when Tommy Lee Jones throws a grenade and you just see him dive on it and tell everyone to get away. Again, the CGI, for them to be able to capture that, to make it look so smooth, effortless, to make it actually look like it's him, even though in real life he's taller and buffer automatically, but to make that believe it's him, that was great. And then that just, to me, that gave what Captain America is all about. That willingness to do whatever it takes to save those around him, because he is just a man that wants to help. Pure acting skill on Chris Evans, just absolutely have to give him major kudos. Probably my biggest issues with Captain America the First Avenger are the lack of action. It's a Marvel movie, so you want there to be action, and certain times the action just was in a montage scene. It didn't really get deep and dirty and grimy that you want from it, but at the same time, it really did feel like a 40s, so I guess that's what they were going for, but I still would have wanted more. It's kind of that back and forth, not sure. Ultimately, though, a very, very, very good movie. I'm going to give Captain America the First Avenger a B+. Let's talk Captain America, the Winter Soldier. This movie raised the bar on so many levels. This movie literally just went from step 1 to 100. Now, Captain America, the First Avenger, like I said, was a good movie, not great, but it was sufficient for what it needed to do. Captain America in the Avengers was good, but at the same time, didn't really captivate you the way that some of the other characters did. But man, did he really come into his own in Captain America the Winter Soldier. The way that this movie set up, that change to a spy thriller almost, and that political thrillerness of it, it keeps you on the edge of the seat all the time. Now for me personally, because I've read the comic books, I knew who the Winter Soldier was. The big reveal wasn't that big of a deal to me. But watching this movie with people that have never read a comic book before, had no clue who was going to be there, my wife for example, was absolutely surprised with the reveal of Bucky. And that was what you want from a movie. You want it to come out and be like, oh, that's who that was? It was just so good. I really enjoyed this movie. The action kept you on the edge of your seat. I really like Falcon. I like Anthony Mackie. I thought that this was the movie where Scarlett Johansson actually showed she was worth something. In all the other Marvel movies up until this point, she was okay. But this was the movie to me that she really stood her own. And I really appreciated that. Samuel L. Jackson did a really good job. Just the way that they set up everything. Twists and turns. You never know where you're going to go. It was so good. As far as complaints go, the only real complaint that I have with this movie is it started to really feel here, especially now, as opposed to other movies, where it's like, is anyone actually gonna die? Now, not that I want people to die, but when it comes to heroes and all these, their sacrifices don't really feel like a sacrifice because they always end up coming back to life in these Marvel movies. And this was a movie that proved that. Bucky died, back to life. Nick Fury died, back to life. Zola died, back to life. It just loses that weight of it, lose that gravity of knowing what's going to happen if there's no actual consequences. I'm hoping that's going to be rectified in future movies, but in this movie, that is kind of one thing that I kind of felt lacked. And there were a couple of scenes that, for me, dragged on a little bit. But overall, minor nitpicky complaints, and I would actually give Captain America the Winter Soldier an A. Now, Captain America Civil War. Anyone who watches any of my reviews or has had a conversation with me knows that I love Captain America Civil War. In fact, it is my favorite Marvel movie. It really is. Now, does that mean it's a perfect movie? No. I mean, I think it's pretty close, but it does have flaws with it. But this movie is so great on so many levels. First and foremost, everyone complains about Zemo, about being a really bad villain, and then especially about just kind of falling into the right things. Now, I've watched this movie numerous times. I just watched it again before I did this review, and I have to say that I understand some of those concerns and those complaints, but on other points of it, you gotta look a little bit closer. First off, one of the things that he says is that he has patience and experience, and with those two things, anything is possible. And really, that was the key to everything that he did in this movie. Now, yeah, a lot of these things fell into place, but they also would have fell into place at a different timeline. It wouldn't have really mattered. They were going to happen because he set them in motion. The fact that they happened so quickly, that's because it's a 2.5-hour movie. But they would have happened eventually. For example, he framed Bucky for that bombing. In the movie, even Sharon Carter had said, all that framing him is going to do is just say that we're going to catch him. That's what he wanted. He wanted Bucky to be caught. And by doing that, what does that mean? Okay, now he just had to go and he had to replace the psychiatrist. Wouldn't be that difficult to do, and he gets him under his control. Then, knowing that that step had gotten into place, he can follow all the other steps. Even at the very end, with him waiting there for them, he could have very well been prepared to wait for a long time because he set everything in motion. He knew they would come eventually. He knew that Tony Stark would eventually figure out that they were right by saying that he framed him. In fact, he knew that because he had called in so that they would find the dead psychiatrist so that they can see that he was an imposter. He knew that that was going to get back to Tony Stark and that he was going to return eventually. The timing of it, okay, is off, but the whole thing actually is a very well thought out plan for what he wanted to accomplish, and he accomplished it the exact way he wanted. So for that, I gotta give him a lot of credit. That being said, I am also one of the few people that think that Zemo is not the villain of this movie. Iron Man is. Go back and watch this movie, and in so many parts of it, obviously Iron Man's a hero. We love him, he's a hero. Robert Downey Jr., great, he is. But there gets a certain point in this movie where Iron Man becomes the clear-cut villain of this movie. He becomes a clear-cut antagonist of this movie. And it's right towards the very end, towards the last scene, when he looks at Captain America and he says, "I don't care. He killed my mom." Right there, he's putting all logic, all rationalism, everything behind him, and he is then proving, I just want to kill this guy. Now, we've seen in numerous movies that Iron Man has no shame about killing people that he thinks deserves to die. But Bucky, did he deserve to die? Who knows? But right then, Iron Man proved to be the villain. He proved to be the one that he just wants to kill someone. Without any trial or anything else, he just wanted to kill Bucky. And that right there made him the main antagonist of this movie. Zemo was a backdrop, in my personal opinion. He facilitated everything, but really, Iron Man was the antagonist. And that's another reason I love this movie. It really, you saw through most of it how you can see both sides until that point. And then you're like, no dude, you're in the wrong. You need to stop. And he did it. It was nice to see the build-up from multiple movies, to see the tension between Iron Man and Captain America. They were constantly butting heads, even from the very first Avengers movie. Every time they were on screen together, they always kind of butt heads a little bit. And so it was finally good to see them culminate this, and it just really showed a good character development. It was an arc that was finally seized through, and I really loved that. And I would be remiss to say nothing about the fantastic airport scene. So much amazingness in one scene. Everything about it. Literally all like 18 minutes of it. Doesn't mean it's a flawless movie, but to me, all of the greatness just takes away from those little tiny nitpicky things about me. Plus, it just does something for me right deep down in my heart, and so I gotta give it to them. Stay tuned. Next time we're going to be talking about more Marvel movies. Until then, we'll see you soon. You guys have a great one.